Gabby Hanna has been a creator here on YouTube who I can say I was intrigued by because of the things that people would say about her anytime she would trend. Something about how she used to work with some cast where other big creators also had their own show going on for like YouTube Premium. I forget the name of it, but I remember that Joey Graceffa, who is another big creator, was in it. A lot of people from that squad came out to talk about how it was a nightmare to work with Gabby. Things like she was a diva, very picky. She didn't fill out her forms in time. She was just never prepared. She never expressed what her dietary needs were, blah, blah, blah. Basically, that kind of drama, because of course she was trying to deny it, whatever she was doing at the time. That was the first time I can say that I vividly remember hearing about her, and then I thought, oh, okay, I know what that feels like. I have worked with trash people before. It's really sad to see that in a privileged type of setting, such as content creation, that there are people out there who take it for granted and they behave this way. I know for a fact that if I were of that status, especially a big celebrity, one of the things I always said to myself is I would never take my squad for granted. Say any stylists that I have, any assistants that I have, anything of any sort, because that is work that I'm supposed to be responsible for. But here you are, willing to serve as my representative and even willing to take over my image, because clearly it's not practical for me to independently handle that. The very least I owe you in that regard is respect. And overall, I like to be respectful of people in general, even if I have my extreme boundaries. Say at my job, at customer service, I am not the friendliest person in the world because I like to have my boundaries. I need to protect my mind. I need to protect my safety, things like that. There are some things that I know I could be better, but I willingly don't do it because what about me? I deserve as a human being to feel safe and comfortable, and distance is bare minimum, one of the things that I just require. An individual like Gabby Hanna, to me, always made me feel like we're absolute opposites. Therefore, I had this attitude toward her of not being able to stand her. So at some point, I started watching her drama anytime she would trend to get familiar about how not to be. And I remember that another time she trended was people were alleging that maybe she was having some kind of episode because she let some guy into her home. She was also creating an insane amount of shorts or TikToks, and she was screaming, and people had the police, I guess, perform a welfare check on her and everything. It got out of control. Again, she inspired me from the perspective of I don't like her, but I have to watch her so that I'm continuously reminded that I'm doing fine, how not to be, how not to behave. It's very easy to fall in the trap of telling myself, look at that, that's not a problem that I have, therefore I'm better than her already. But that's not the point. My point is that these kinds of observations help remind me that my life could get a whole lot worse, but it won't because I stick to some principles. And one of the principles that I stick to is not behaving like this person. That's what I'm trying to convey here. In a messed up way, unfortunately, I feel like we still need people like that so that they can model the kinds of consequences that you can live if you're not careful. But I'm not saying that just because I am conforming to whatever it is that I'm doing and I don't have the problems she has, that I'm just automatically living a better life or that I'm better than her. I just wanted you to have that in the back of your mind so that you understand my relationship to Hannah as a content creator. I don't know her, I will never meet her, but I just wish to express how it is that I arrived here with her as my topic. About 11-12 days ago, she posted a video that I watched 2 nights ago because the algorithm for some reason fed it to me, and I have an idea of how I may have gotten that suggestion. It has to do with listening to other people talk about women and the procedures that they get done. Well, Gabby made this video about how she had like plastic surgery that went wrong. And you guys know that that is something that I am against. I would never do it. I would never consider it. I don't care what you guys tell me, what features I have that are ugly. Even when I was in school, my nose, my eyebrow, my hair, my skin tone, my height, my teeth, all of those things that are flaws. I don't care what you think. And the sooner you realize that and convince yourself that I genuinely feel that way, the better it'll be for the both of us, because you're not wasting your time and I'm not wasting my time. But I just love it. One of the things that I anticipated when I started this channel is that I was going to get some of you stupid clowns trying to discuss my body and say negative things in the same manner that some of you guys say positive things. I'm not against hearing the positive things. I think that there is a way to do it that's not invasive and disrespectful. Fortunately, I believe that it should not be a question now that I do not take appearance seriously. I do not try to present myself here in an extra neat kind of way because I want to be exactly myself. Very simple. That's how I want to preserve myself. I'm going to preserve myself in this manner because I want to represent how I truly am. That's what I'm trying to capture here. I'm also someone who, because I don't put any care or attention into that, I feel strange because it's not natural for me to put effort into those things. I'm not saying that the creators who do that are wrong in doing so. I'm just saying that I have taken the time to think about the consequences that would have on me. If I am not used to wearing makeup or dressing a certain way because that's not really how I feel or what I value, why would I do it? That's just a waste of time. That's not going to work out. Naturally, anytime one of you says that, I'm like, oh, I gotta remember that this is a fool who doesn't know me. Therefore, you are impressed by what you see superficially and you just cannot help it but comment on the matter out of ignorance because you don't take the time to get to know someone first before you start saying those things. What people like that are doing is applying onto me the beauty standards or the physique of other people. Clearly, I'm not your favorite phenotype to look at, and I cannot just help it or change it. And I'm not going to feed an insecurity that you're giving me by criticizing something that I was simply born with. And on top of that, the cowardice of you are saying that to someone but not to their face. And even in person, the people who have ever said something negative to me, a lot of them being my own family members, sure, I lived through that and it sucked that I never had positive reinforcement, but at some point I decided to just continue to stick to what was important to me. If I never cared about this, naturally, I'm going to receive negative comments. At least I decided to focus on doing well in school, in being a great worker, and having fine manipulation skills, among other things. Whereas a lot of the people who have ever said mean things to me, at some point, you have needed my help, and I have not needed your help. Who's the one winning here? To me, focusing on something that's superficial and subject to change never made sense to me. Why would I dress all dolled up and put so much effort and work into this when I'm gonna have to wash it, when I'm going to have to be careful about stuff smearing? I am active, I am hyper, I like to move, I like to sweat, I like to be out there rolling around with animals. I'm not going to be like the kind of person who's like not petting an animal because I find them disgusting or something. It's I will mess with that dog, with that cat, with that horse, because my clothes or my makeup is not going to stop me from having fun, from enjoying life, from having activities to engage in, those types of things. When Hannah put out this video in which she was describing what she had done to herself, immediately I couldn't help but think, wow, she is so easily manipulated, so easy to convince to do something. Her willpower is extremely weak. Her self-esteem is super low. Her self-respect is non-existent. She was describing how when she went to get her nose fixed because that was her insecurity, then they started offering her things for her neck, things for her forehead, things for her eyes, and then she kept saying, when you put it like that, something about it's gonna make you look better because you are asymmetrical, even though we all are asymmetrical. This, that, and the other, you gotta fix this, you gotta do that, and blah blah blah. And I always tell myself, and I remember that I had a stupid clown here on my comment section saying something about how I don't get donations and people who are prettier than me get thousands of dollars donated to them. And I said, thank God that I don't get that kind of attention. May they enjoy what they receive. May they do whatever they want with what they receive. I'm not asking for that. I'm not begging for that. I'm not trying to do that. I have never tried to do that. Why? Because I remember why I started this, and I have never, ever, and I will never, ever stray away from my purpose here. I have the crappy lighting, I have the crappy presentation, I have the crappy iPhone, crappy sound, and everything for a reason. Because I want to keep this simple. The only way I can continue to enjoy doing this is by maintaining it simple. I know who and what I am. Just because I have seen other people making videos that are shiny and sound nice and have production and everything looks dramatic and glittering, it doesn't mean that that is what I want. That's why I keep explaining to you guys that I'm going to get really pissed the day that my Corolla dies, because that is a simple car that was designed perfect for me, and I have discovered it, and now that I have discovered it, I don't want to ever change it. In the same manner that I discovered making videos, and I have been presenting myself in this manner, and I have had a blast. Why the fuck would I change that? Why would I implement things that are going to make me stop enjoying what I'm doing? Because I'm adding a complication to this process that doesn't need it. So in the case of Gabby, when I started hearing her describing how she was falling victim to all those things, I'm like, okay, you are complicating your life because you're easily impressionable. Something that you guys know I harp about very often here. Learn to be hard to impress. She was impressed by the fact that she was an influencer getting a procedure for free. Never stopped to question it. Never stopped to be like, well, what about my values? I kept saying that I wasn't willing to make these changes to myself. I would never change that. I don't have insecurities about my neck or the rest of my face and stuff. If that is how you feel, why would you let someone else make that decision for you? Why do you make yourself someone so easy to sell something to? That's the way I look at name brand things, car models, all those little miscellaneous things, everything that takes a part of your life. A lot of the things that I own that are relatively fancy, I didn't even have to get for myself. They were provided for me. It was someone else was impressed by something they observed, and they thought about me, and they thought that maybe I could get into it too. So out of a courtesy and out of, I guess, love and respect toward me, they said, hey, I got this for you because I think you might like it. I gave it a shot. Maybe I liked it, maybe I didn't. But it's not like, oh my God, a gadget now that's like goggles with screens on it is out now. I have to go out there and get it because it has the logo of an apple. You gotta believe me when I say that I am not impressed by those things coming out. Overall, upon me expressing all that, I want to once again help redefine who I am and what I am, but I want to use someone who is absolutely unlike me to help me once again go over this topic and explain or try to why it is that I say the things that I say here. Anytime I complain or whine or bitch about the way people are and how it gets under my skin, I can share it from my perspective, but now I can take someone else's perspective and dissect it and apply it to me, make it about me because this is my show, and then you guys can hopefully see from a different kind of phrasing what it is that I say and what it is that I try to convey here. Look at this millionaire influencer struggling with shit that I, a poor ass bitch, doesn't struggle with. I think that it is important before you can even consider living the fancy life, having the millions of dollars, having all of these possessions, being a household name, being influential, etc., etc. Figure your shit out first. Figure yourself out first. Because sometimes you're not in as much of a good shape to be out there influencing the masses as you think you are. Just because your name is known, you have resources, and you have power, it doesn't mean that you are good for everybody or that you are good for yourself even. I like to think that I am self-sufficient and can self-serve in that regard. Therefore, the complexes that bring these people down, and remember, they are worth so much more than I am. Those things that bring them down are not the things that bring me down. Y'all ain't never gonna hear me share a story about how I got scammed into something, or something was sold to me that I wasn't looking for, or it was against my will, or something like that at the mall. Sometimes I be seeing those kiosks of people who are selling makeup or creams and lotions, and they go like, oh, don't you like the texture of it? Don't you like how it makes your skin shiny? And this and that. It happened to me the last time I was at a mall. And I'm like, I mean, feel free to try. But I mean, she was just trying to harass me and trying to give me insecurities and be like, it looks like you have a few spots on your skin here and there that this product could help erase. Would you like to see? And first of all, I was disgusted that a stranger was touching me. You guys know how I feel about that. So I said, make it as discreet as possible. And then she was like, yeah, your skin feels it's not bad, but it could be even softer. And I'm like, my skin is already as soft as I like for it to be. Your female arrogance versus my female arrogance, we're going to, because you're trying to sell me something, you're trying to get my money, and I'm trying to hold on to my money. I know what you're doing. You're trying to create in me an insecurity about my skincare rituals that I don't have. And then she was like, okay, did you like it? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, it had been an hour since I applied lotion, so naturally this is gonna make me feel soft and stuff. And she was like, well, would you like to buy it? And I'm like, I don't even know how much this costs, so how would I be willing to want to use something when I don't know the cost of it? And she was like, oh, it's $40 for like a little ass jar like this. And I was like, I have so many skincare products already. I don't see how this one's special. And she's like, well, this one, I know it smells nice and you saw the difference in texture, and this is primarily for before bed, for the dark circles under your eyes and things. And I'm like, yeah, I have dark circles under my eyes because I'm not trying to cover it like you are, wearing your foundation and powders and all that shit. I don't even know the names of those things. How long does that take you? Like an hour? And if it were to rain, what would you do? Try to avoid the water from hitting your face? Would you be trying to avoid sweating? Would you try to avoid people touching your face? If you have an itch, are you gonna go like, or are you going to confidently go like that? Your insecurity is not my insecurity. Stop trying to project it onto me to make $1 out of me. That's it. I am like that. I have always been like that. And I have been torn down, especially by women, for being that way. Like, why are you so cheap? Why are you not willing to spend? Why are you not willing to spend the time to discover blah, blah, blah? You would feel so much better. And I'm like, bitch, maybe I'm saying that doesn't work for me because I have tried it and I always feel like a cat with a collar that's too tight around its neck. Just, the feeling of my pores being clogged. I guess I'm like Quiet from Metal Gear. She cannot wear clothes and be blocked from the sun because of some therapy that she's going through when she had a burn that she sustained when she was fighting somebody. When you would put clothes on her, she would suffocate. That's how I feel when makeup is put on me. I suffocate. All in all, I say all that because Gabby Hanna in her video finally said, you know what? There was nothing wrong with me and I succumbed to this pressure and blah, blah, blah. Basically, she was saying that she pretty much regretted some of those things because of how it made her look, how it made her feel, how she felt like she was taken advantage of, which it's true. And then I said, even though it took her this fucking long to discover it, and remember, she has money, she has power, she has influence, she should be better than the average person when it comes to her confidence. You realize that these people are still trapped having those teenage problems. To me, a problem and insecurity about your appearance and about how you see yourself, to me, that's teenager level problems. When you're a 20 something, a 30 something, a 40 something, 50, 60 something, that shit should be over. And that's one of those things that I can appreciate a lot of older people for, because old people, there comes a point in which you just stop fucking caring, because you know your place, you know what's important, you learn to value things differently and to manage your time differently. That is how I want to be. I have been working on that and getting there since I was like 15 years old, maybe 14 years old. And one of the things that I accepted when I was 13 years old is, look, my appearance is a particular one that requires a degree of investment that I'm not willing to make. Therefore, I gotta prepare myself for the negative comments I'm going to receive, for the pressure that I'm going to, for some reason, get from women, which I always find it weird that women are always trying to influence me into looking a certain way. Like, are you trying to change me to conform to what you like? Because that shit disgusts me. I would never do something to myself to please you. Ugh! Makes me sick. Now, if it's for a man, I could consider making a few changes here and there, but fortunately, I made sure that I get with a man who does not do that to me. In the same manner that I don't tell him, change this shit about you because you could look better. He doesn't do that to me. Why would I do that to him? And the kind of lifestyle that we live is we are super simple to where that is not our priority, and that's not something that we just care about. We like to feel great. We like to be fit. We like to have jobs. We like to be prepared for action. Things like that. That's what we value. That's not what you value. Stop messing with me. I'm not going to mess with you. So to see someone like Gabby Hanna coming out and putting this video, which I think is the most obvious and stupidest thing ever, but at least she got there, and now she's sending that message, letting everybody know that, hey, these are my own words. I was stupid. I was easily manipulated. It's easy to sell me things. I'm vulnerable. I'm stupid, pretty much. It's something that I can respect her for. And I even left a comment under that video. I said, you know what? I can see how this might take guts to say. It should take guts for you to admit that you were an idiot and that you were taken advantage of, and that unfortunately, I guess when you were growing up, nobody taught you that you're going to be under attack from everywhere. You're going to be under attack from businesses. You're going to be under attack from other people because of competition to move up to a position, competition for a mate, competition for this, that, and the other. I have always said I'm not competitive because I don't care to compete. I shouldn't have to compete. And I know that out there in nature and the wild, that's the rule. Competitiveness is everything. But if we as a society are supposed to be building safety nets for each other, competition is something toxic, the way that I see it. So I think that the best way to compete is to not be willing to compete. If you start thinking about it that way, you'll understand that a lot of problems that happen with us in society have to do with that competition mindset. People who scam, they scam you because they're trying to make a quick buck, because competition is fierce. People who over promote their products, they understand that competition is fierce. People who keep bugging you to subscribe to them, to like and share and comment and blah blah blah, competition is fierce. I get it. This is why I don't do that to you guys. You guys know that I have another venture in which I try to sell things. Have I ever told you where you can buy my things? No. Am I ever going to tell you? No, because I don't want to attack you with that. And I'm pretty sure that because of the variety of things that I have, one of you, or maybe two of you, 5, 10, 50 of you could be interested in the things that I have to offer. But if the idea is not already in your mind, I don't want to show it to you, especially if you may not recognize that you may be someone susceptible and vulnerable to making those kinds of purchases. The best way to sell things is to show the merchandise and promote it, right? But for me, it's I want you to think about it and then find it if it's up to you. Like, say, olive green, sleeveless top with a wooden circle. Let me see if something like that exists. Let me perform the search. Okay, I found it. Boom, I'm gonna buy it. But it's because you concocted it, you imagined it. Something inspired you to have that idea, and not, oh man, I saw Zam wearing that top and now I gotta have it. No, make yourself be guided by something that you observed. For me personally, it was the first time I ever put leggings on my legs. I knew that those were my favorite kinds of pants. So then I started imagining the kinds of pants that I would wear. And that's how eventually I ran into whatever brands it is that I like, whatever types it is that I like. And it's like I myself put myself in that situation of indulging in those things. Nobody had to put it in my face. It was with my own peepers up here. I was able to observe what it is that suits me, and I went out on my quest to find it, and I got it. That season for me is over. I have so much now that it's not practical for me to own another fucking pair. For someone like Gabby to come out and admit that it was easy to sell her things and impress her, it makes me really proud, because it's usually near impossible for a woman to come out and say that, especially in this landscape. I have been appreciative of the occasional creator who I can stumble upon who is honest and they like to expose the things that they fall victim to and they're being scammed by. I myself had times in which I had to learn about some of those things. And I'm like, okay, I remember a time when I was vulnerable. And I gotta remember that when I'm vulnerable, someone out there may have bad intentions. And my own mind may fail me when I'm in a vulnerable state. But just because I'm vulnerable doesn't mean that I can just be a victim of everything. I have to recognize my vulnerability and find ways to protect myself, to say, if this is torn, find a panel to armor this. Like, I look at my soul and my body as I have a protective armor, but with the battles that I encounter daily, some of it dents, some of it chips, some of it loosens, falls apart. I have to replace that panel. I have to fix it. I have to recognize that, oh man, with this broken panel, the rain can soak it and lead to other problems. I need to repair it. That's how you look at yourself. Look at yourself as, at some point, I have to make repairs up here. Yes, you have to be responsible for that. You cannot just ask people to stop challenging you and bullying you because you're vulnerable. On the contrary, don't announce that you're vulnerable. And if you want to announce that you're vulnerable, announce it after you have overcome the vulnerability. That's kind of what I do. Sometimes when I tell you guys a bad story of something that happened to me, you guys don't find out until months, weeks, years, in some cases, days, after the matter is over. Sure, it's an old story, but I feel like that's the better way to go about it. So I think that we just gotta learn to slow down and recognize that not everything needs to be immediate. Your insecurities is something that you just gotta define, accept, and try to imagine how people are going to come after you for those insecurities, and then recognize it right there on the spot. Define yourself, define your values, and defend them, and preferably join people who are going to help you defend those as well. Because unfortunately, people are going to try to take advantage of you. In an ideal world, that wouldn't happen, even if you do your part of not taking advantage of other people and you're going by the I treat others how I want to be treated premise. Remember that there's fucking cheaters out there. There are people who are simply going to try to take advantage of you, even if you're supposed to mean a lot to them, or you mean a lot to them, or they mean a lot to you. Just everyone has the potential of becoming a devil. look at it that way. There you guys have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope it makes sense, and I hope that you learned something about me and about this creator. And to Gabby Hanna, I just want to say that I like that. I don't like her as a creator. The content that she makes doesn't really attract me or resonate with me, but at least as a person, it's nice that she came out and she accepted that shit and that she shared it, and hopefully this is going to save some people, because based on her comment section it looks like some people have been deterred from doing the things that she gave them the idea for, but now she's coming out and doing the responsible thing and saying that, hey, this may not work for you, especially for younger people. It's really nice that even when she felt like she was doing the right thing to recommend to someone young that they do something, or I forget how it went, but basically someone who was like a teenager said, oh my god, I can't believe you're here, I'm over here about to change my nose because I learned that from you, something like that. Then it's nice that she is trying now to dissuade others. I think that takes guts, because you're admitting that, hey, I did all this stuff because I was insecure, but now I realize that ultimately it may work for some people, it may help some people be happy, but at the same time, you shouldn't try to make that what defines you. Anyway, something like that. Let me know your thoughts, as always, and I'll see you next time.